Well, top of the afternoon to you, or whatever it is, where you're watching, when you're watching. So we don't really run on time schedules anymore like they did back in the olden days. And just wanted to, so this is probably one of the last movies I'll be recording for this whole, or the last videos I'll be recording for this whole Halloween thing. And it's been fun having y'all along. This is kind of monumental because it's not only the completion of my found footage trifecta, it's the completion of my kaiju trifecta. And it's going to be a weird amalgam of the two, but it is going to be 2008's Cloverfield. Yeah, that's right. Now, a lot of you may remember back around the beginning when I started doing this whole Halloween thing, I sat there and carped about all the staple things about found footage that, annoy me and I don't really like, and so on and so forth. And Cloverfield has all those things. Weirdly enough, I come not to bury Cloverfield, but to praise it. Uh, a little story here. Okay, so and this thing, I think it was pretty much the big name behind it was at the time was J.J. Abrams. Who I also don't really give a flying rat's ass about. Uh, it was directed by Matt Reeves, who I like a lot. And he's only kind of now kind of hitting a place where we all know and love him, and well, we don't all love him, but a lot of folks do. This sucker, oh boy. So basically, this is the found footage. It's got all the tropes you pretty much think of. It's like, oh yeah, all the people are dead. All the people who made this movie are dead, and and so the movie kind of has this circular notion to it. Eventually how it's all going to end. Just wow, this camera was unburied from what used to be called Central Park in New York, and so it's some point in the future where there's been some kind of a catastrophe, and of course we end up finding out what that catastrophe was. And it's got all the tropes you by this point in time, and it's like still fairly early in like the found footage boom that came after Blair Witch. But you get to this point. At this point, it's like I know all the tropes. I don't like them. So you got the motion sickness camera angles. The motion sickness camera movements, and just a bunch of stuff like that. And you got like the circular construct of the found footage with the people who made this are dead, and yeah, yada yada yada, all this stuff, and it's exactly, and a lot of the time it's kind of like, wow, is this just crappy looking to mask the fact that it's bad filmmaking? I'm gonna say no to one degree or another, but it's like you go through here. Okay, this stars a bunch of folks. I don't know who the hell any of them are. Lizzie Kaplan seems to have been the big breakout star of the whole thing, but I guess I've heard a lot of people watch so sometimes a lot of the reaction folks and all that, and they watch this from where they are now, and they know who a lot of these actors are. I personally don't, because like I'm old and stuff. No matter. I enjoy the movie. I enjoy the characters to one degree or another. There's kind of a unique framing device that goes into this because the entire central character thrust in this is the protagonist Rob, who is seen in the beginning and the end. It's like he's doing this video camera thing. He's hooked up with this girl Beth, and they wake up and they've obviously just hooked up, but they're going to go to have a nice day out at Coney Island, and snippets kind of intrude here and there of like the train ride, and then ultimately they get there and they're on the rides and they're having a good time. And this is important. It seems kind of almost incidental at that point in time, except what happens as far as the whole thing goes. Rob has actually just accepted a job, this new corporate job in Japan, and so he's getting ready to move. So it picks up with his brother Jason and Jason's fiancee Lily were throwing this big surprise going away party for him, and so they get a camera and they grab some tape lying around. Turns out it's the tape where Rob took Beth to Coney Island, and yeah, sorry Rob, by and large, except for a few minutes at the beginning and then little snippets here and there, this thing is getting taped over. And so this is what, folks in the far destroyed future get to find later on. And so it's basically this tape of Rob's going away party, and they turn the camera over to another friend whose name is Hud. Hud is kind of one of those characters that's indispensable in this found footage idiom because he's the moron who is too stupid to stop filming stuff. He's going to just be filming this entire thing regardless of what's going on. And and he's an idiot. And that's kind of how the character works, and that's kind of how the movie happens. And basically and they kind of goad Hud into doing this. Oh, Marla? Is Marla her name? The character? Is Marla going to be here? Yeah, Marla's going to be here. I may be confusing her with someone else. Marlena, I think. Is Marlena going to be there? Yeah, Marlena's going to be there. Yeah, do this good. Marlena's going to be there. I'm like, oh, well, I like her. So he goes and, is a good little boy and is kind of intrusive and stupid the entire time. But, they throw the big surprise going away party for Rob, and Rob's all happy. He's like, oh, look at all my friends. And, in this kind of swanky Manhattan pad. And sure enough, Marlena shows up and gets pestered relentlessly by Hud, who forgets to film much of the goings on with Rob entirely. And eventually Beth shows up with a date. And Beth is the girl who's kind of in the thing that's being taped over, like they hooked up and had that nice just day together at Coney Island. Well, she shows up with the date, and it's obvious, like, since that taping, these two kind of aren't together anymore. And so there's a bit of a fractious thing, and she and her date end up leaving. And Rob is, just out on the balcony, kind of bitching to Jason and bitching to Hud, who's sitting there kind of surreptitiously recording the whole thing because he doesn't know any better. And then there's this big explosion and an earthquake, and you see a big explosion and fireballs flying through the air, and everybody's on the rooftop, and then they all get down off the rooftop, and there are earthquakes and, messy explosions and car crashes and everything. They all run out into the street, and whatever's going on is terrible, and you see projectiles flying through the air, and one of them is the Statue of Liberty's head. And it's like, wow, okay, this is kind of big and bad. And eventually they kind of discover, oh no, there's a monster in the city. A monster just came on shore, and the monster is kind of rampaging, and frequently you don't get a good look at it ever. It pops up in a scene here and a scene there, and you kind of get a look at it, but you kind of don't. Which, to be honest, might be a strength of the movie. It might be kind of along the lines, when you watch Jaws, it's like, the shark is great, and it looks great when it's sparingly used, and when it starts showing up and, sticking its head out of the water and, eating chum and all that, it's kind of like, you're gonna need a bigger boat, and it's kind of like, hey, you're gonna need a better movie. Well, yeah, not to diss Jaws. I like Jaws. It's kind of like a modern Moby Dick. It's a lot of fun. But just getting off track here. Cloverfield, yeah, not showing a lot of the monster probably helps the illusion of there being a monster. But there's a lot of chaos and a lot of destruction, and they're all trying to figure out how to get the hell out of Manhattan. And they get onto the Brooklyn Bridge. They all start heading over Brooklyn. Oh no! The monster's in the water. Oh no, the monster's destroying the bridge. Yeah, oh no, Rob's brother just died. And so they all start running back, and yeah, no matter where they run, they can't seem to get away from the monster. Rob is suddenly very concerned about Beth, and is trying to call her. She sounds like she's hurt and in pain or something, and so she's like, "Oh God!" He's like, "Oh God, we got to go get Beth. I got to go get Beth. You guys don't have to come." But of course, they're going to tag along anyway. They're all tight buds, except for Marlena, who kind of just randomly got sucked into this. So it's like kind of the four of them. Lily is now, her fiance, Rob's brother, is dead. So there are four of them. Eventually they're all dodging military guys who are shooting at this monster, and they're dodging the monster. And the closer you get a look at the monster, you see it on news footage and whatnot. And it looks like it has these bug parasite type creatures falling off of him, and they're all running and attacking people and biting people, killing people, whatever they're doing. And so it's a big old mess. So they finally decide to retreat down to the subway, and they seem safe, but there's the ground is shaking, and you hear the monster and all this other stuff. And they eventually decide, maybe we better go somewhere. Maybe we ought to do something. It's not like a train's going to show up and take us out of here. And so finally what they do is they kind of go through the tunnel, and they get attacked in the tunnel. And, because all those parasites that are falling off the monster go into the tunnel. And, they're all crawling around the tunnel, waiting to attack people. And you find out horrible things, like the fact that, when they bite you, you start getting infected. You get infected, and you get real sick. And then you start not doing too well. You're dizzy, your head hurts, your eyes are bleeding. And eventually your head explodes. And, this is really rattling our friends. Eventually they kind of meet up with the military. They find out that there's going to be a couple of helicopters that'll get them out of there, because the next protocol is basically nuking Manhattan, because they're throwing everything at this thing. Nothing is stopping it. So they get out, and, you know, you kind of get, I don't know, they do have just kind of, as much as it's a chaotic emergency situation, there is characterization going on here. And, you know, Rob is hell-bent on rescuing Beth, whatever's happening to her. Lily, you know, her fiance is gone, and she's just like, okay, Rob, I'm with you, whatever you're going to do. And HUD, I think at that point, has just had too much. And you see him just kind of stopping and sitting down and putting the camera down for the first moment in the whole movie. And, you know, and Rob and Lily are kind of heading off in the distance, and then they turn around, they're like, oh, HUD, and they run to him. Yeah, HUD is not just an idiot with a camera, guys. He's, you know, an idiot with a camera who has feelings. Guy gets chewed to death by a monster, you know? It is what it is. Anyway, so this is, I don't know, for me, it's a fun little ride. It hits all the beats you think it's going to hit. It does all the things you think it's going to do. But at the end of the day, I think the thing I really love about this movie is the fact that it does, in its way and in its idiom, to kaiju movies, what George Romero did with Night of the Living Dead. George Romero took horror and just broke it in Night of the Living Dead. All the tropes that existed, he took it and just broke it, because what you had in most of the horror movies at that point in time, a lot of the horror science fiction movies, kind of ran the route of, it's just like, there'll be some plague of giant bugs attacking the countryside, and the whole movie is basically the military mobilizing its scientists working with the Pentagon to try to figure out a way to stop these monsters. When you watch Night of the Living Dead, you see bits of that from afar. You see TV news reports, and they've got like part of the story, or maybe like a fifth of the story. Everything's coming in, all hell's breaking loose. They can barely keep up with it. You know, it's just like the focus is on all these little people running around who don't know what's going on. They're just trying to protect themselves. And Cloverfield kind of does that too. And it's kind of in the same respect of you know, just like in kaiju movies. It's the same thing. It's a similar formula. You've got the big movers and shakers. It's the military, it's the scientists, it's the government, and they're all trying to figure out what to do about these monsters that are ripping their city apart. But here, there is no focus on that. You got the military guys who kind of talked person to person and said, yeah, you're going to want to get out of this city, because here's what's going to happen after a certain amount of time. You know, you want to be on this helicopter, or you're going to get nuked. And that's the closest you get to really knowing the overall picture of what's going on. You maybe don't need to know any more than you needed to know what the big overarching picture was with those zombies back in the 60s. And it's just, you know, your entire focus, your entire focal point are these little people running around trying not to get squashed in New York, which, I find to be a very entertaining premise. You know, goofy-ass found footage tropes and brain-bashing camera work aside, and a nice little point of entry from Matt Reeves, who I think did a really good job creating this world. But anyway, I will see you as the Halloween week progresses. Have a day.